Get ready for Deadpool and Wolverine with the complete rundown of the X-Men franchise in timeline order, including every X-Men film, Wolverine's adventures, and Deadpool's movies. Here we go!
Time to make the chimichangas.
It's 1944, where we meet a young Eric Lenshaw being separated from his parents at a Nazi concentration camp in Poland. We learn that Eric is a mutant, the next stage in our evolution that's a rare genetic trait, giving people a wide range of powers and abilities. Enraged, Eric unleashes his mutant ability, bending the metal gates while being restrained by guards. He's knocked out and taken to a Nazi scientist named Dr. Klaus Schmidt. There, Schmidt forces Eric to move a metal coin, but is unable to, so Schmidt kills Eric's mother. This once again enrages Eric to unleash his full magnetic abilities. Meanwhile, in a massive mansion in Westchester, New York, with warm food and zero Nazis, a young Charles Xavier meets a shape-shifting mutant named Raven, whose natural skin color is the same as the title of the only Eiffel 65 song you know. Charles reveals that he too has mutant abilities, able to read people's minds, and welcomes Raven as his foster sister. Cut to 1962, where Charles has graduated from Oxford University with a thesis on genetic mutation and uses that study to hit on a girl with one eye a different colour than the other. 4 years well spent. Meanwhile, Eric Lenshaw is trying to hit on Nazi war criminals in a physical sense, by killing them. His main target is Dr. Klaus Schmidt, who now goes by Sebastian Shaw, which is a very Marvel name, like Green Goblin, Otto Octavius, and of course, J. Jonah, Jimmy, Jason, Jackson, Jordan, Jasmine, Julian, Josephine, Jessica Jameson, a junior. Shaw is now the leader of the Hellfire Club, a secret society of mutants which consists of Emma Frost, a telepath who can transform into a girl's best friend, Riptide who can create riptides, and Ezekiel who can teleport and has the same skin color as the title of Taylor Swift's fourth studio album. In Las Vegas, a Central Intelligence Agency agent is investigating the Hellfire Club. This agent's name is Moira McTaggart, a very Marvel name like Miles Morales, Matt Murdock, and of course, J. Jonah, Jimmy, Jason, Jackson, Jordan, Jasmine, Julian, Josephine, Jessica Jameson, a junior. After discovering the Hellfire Club's mutant abilities, she seeks the assistance of Xavier with his genetic mutation knowledge. Seeing Shaw as a threat, Charles and Raven meet Eric and form an alliance to pursue Shaw together. They then meet another mutant named Hank McCoy who has beast-like feet, but no beast-like fur. Hank has built a mutant locating device known as Cerebro, which Charles uses to search for others like them. They recruit Alex Summers, aka Havoc, who can turn cosmic energy into a plasma beam. Banshee's mutation is a really loud scream. Darwin can adapt to any environment, no matter how extreme. Angel has wings, and they even try to get Wolverine to join the team. Go away please and thank you. Sebastian Shaw's master plan is to trigger World War III by manipulating the United States and Soviet Union into conflict, believing that mutants will rise from the ashes and become the superior species. The Hellfire Club attacks the CIA facility, interrupting the mutants, who are coming up with cool codenames for themselves.
I want to be called Mystique.
Damn, I wanted to be called Mystique.
Shaw offers an opportunity for the mutants to join them, which Angel agrees to. The others try to stop them, only to learn that Darwin can't actually adapt to everything. With the CIA no longer safe, Charles takes the remaining mutants to his mansion to train them to control their powers, and together they become the first class of X-Men. Raven and Hank begin to bond over their shared disapproval of the way they look, so Hank develops a serum that suppresses their physical mutations. Eric encourages Raven to forget about the extreme beauty standards put on women and embrace herself for who she is. However, Hank takes the serum and gets the beast-like fur he was missing from the beginning. With the X-Men now all confident using their powers, they confront the Hellfire Club during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Charles tries to stop Shaw using his psychic powers, but Sebastian is wearing a helmet to block the telepathy, plus for fashion. The battle against Shaw is taken to the shore, where Eric confronts the man that killed his mother. Luckily, Eric is able to remove the hat, allowing Charles to stop the sequel to World War II. However, fueled by rage, Eric kills Shaw with that coin he couldn't lift before. The war between the US and USSR may have ceased, but now they're targeting their missiles at the mutants, fearing their power. But they should have made their weapons plastic, because Eric turns the metal missiles back at the Homo sapiens, believing mutants should be the dominant species. Charles tries to stop Eric, believing mutants and non-mutants can coexist. While Charles is successful, in the chaos a stray bullet, deflected by Eric, paralyzes Xavier. Eric and Charles go their separate ways. Eric recruits a brotherhood of mutants with Raven, now known as Mystique, Ezekiel, Riptide, Angel, and Emma Frost to pursue his cause, while Charles pursues his belief by opening his home to become a school and safe haven for mutants to learn to control their powers while promoting understanding between Homo sapiens and mutants. Charles also erases Moira's memories of the event to protect his students from the dangers that may come from those against mutants. With Eric in search for more mutants, he dons the cool helmet and even cooler name of
Magneto.
It's 1845, a time before indoor toilets, hot showers, and worst of all, a time before the internet. In the Northwest Territories of Canada, a young James Howlett witnesses the murder of his father by the groundskeeper, Thomas Logan. The traumatic events triggers James to unleash his mutant abilities, Bone Claws, which he uses to kill Thomas. But it wasn't just the groundskeeper that James killed. We learn that Thomas was actually his biological father. James and his half-brother Victor Creed run away, far away, where they'll never find them. Victor is also a mutant with sharp claws, healing factor, and slow rate of aging, like James. Over the years, the pair get like so many medals fighting in pretty much every war, from the American Civil War, the original and the sequel to the World War franchise, and the Vietnam War. It's in Vietnam where Victor gets a little too aggressive with the villagers, leading to him killing a senior officer. James defends him and the two are sentenced to execution, but it's just a waste of bullets due to the pair's healing abilities. The two are then approached by William Stryker, who recruits them into a group of covert mutants, including the Merc with a mouth named Wade Wilson, who's skilled and has super agility, Agent Zero can fire a gun with perfect accuracy, John Rath can teleport to anywhere he needs to be, Frank Dukes has super strength and invulnerability, while Chris Bradley can control electricity. Team X, as they're referred to, carry out a variety of missions, but James disagrees with their brutal tactics and walks away like Craig David. 6 years later, and James now goes by Logan, the last name of his biological father. He's living peacefully as a logger in Canada with his girlfriend Kayla Silverfox, until he's no longer living peacefully as a logger in Canada when Victor hunts Kayla down and kills her. Driven by revenge, Logan accepts an offer by Stryker to undergo an experimental procedure that would bond an indestructible metal known as adamantium to his skeleton, giving him the edge to kill Victor. The procedure is successful, but Logan overhears Stryker's plan to erase his memory and escapes. Logan, who's once again changed his name and now goes by Wolverine, starts seeking out former members of Team X to help track down Victor. John Rath provides information about Stryker's secret lab. Fred Dukes, who's eaten a couple of burgers since the last time they saw each other, guides Wolverine in the direction of Remy LeBeau, who would successfully escape Stryker's facility, and Remy leaves Wolverine outside to fight Victor, who's shown up, killed John and extracted his DNA due to secretly still working for Stryker. Victor escapes, but Remy, aka Gambit, agrees to take Logan to Stryker's facility on 3 Mile Island, or 4.83km island for Australian viewers. At the facility, Logan learns that Kayla is still alive, having faked her own death. Stryker had manipulated her into surveying Logan in exchange for her sister Emma Frost's safety, not to be confused with this older Emma Frost from the past. But Stryker not only refuses to release Emma, but denies Victor the adamantium bonding promised for getting all that mutant DNA. Enraged, Wolverine releases all the caged mutants before confronting Stryker, but William doesn't fight his own battles, instead bringing out the Merc with a mouth that no longer has a mouth, but does have the DNA of a pool of different mutants. In order to defeat this Deadpool, Logan and Victor must put their differences aside. It's a tough battle, but Team Sharpclaws decapitate the Deadpool to become the Merc without a mouth, or a head. The mutants escape the facility and are rescued by Charles Xavier, who can walk. Unfortunately for Kayla, she's been wounded during all of this and dies from her injuries. But the fight's not over for Logan, as Stryker shoots him with an adamantium bullet, causing amnesia. With no memory of his past, Logan runs off into the sunset. But Stryker doesn't get off scot-free free. He's found by a military officer who detains him for questioning over the death of General Munson, someone William killed to protect his experiments. As for the Merc without a mouth or a head, turns out he doesn't need either of those to survive, so I imagine we're probably going to see him again. In ancient Egypt, the first mutant, and Shabanu, aka Apocalypse, is revered as a god. There's a ceremony where Apocalypse's consciousness is transferred into another mutant's body to gain their healing powers. A rebellion is trying to stop the process, but first they have to get past Apocalypse's 4 horsemen, who are also mutants, not half horse, half man. The rebels kill the horsemen, and Apocalypse is entombed alive. 21 years after the events of First Class, everyone is aged impeccably. None of them look more than 5 years older. Alex Summers brings his younger brother to Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters after discovering his mutant ability of Superman's worst power. That brother's name is Scott Summers, not to be confused with this older version of Scott Summers from the past, who have a very Marvel name, like Sebastian Shaw, Stephen Strange, and of course, J. Jonah, Jimmy, Jason, Jackson, Jordan, Jasmine, Julian, Josephine, Jessica Jameson, a junior. There, Scott meets Jean Grey, who has Charles Xavier's worst and only power. Nightcrawler's another new student who can teleport anywhere, and Jubilee, who is also kind of there. Meanwhile, in Egypt, a group of worshippers awake in Apocalypse. After being buried for thousands of years and witnessing the modern world's advancements, he decides to cleanse the earth and create a new world order. But in order to do this, he needs to assemble a group of remarkable people to become his new horsemen. This includes Aurora Monroe, aka Storm, who can manipulate the weather, Angel, who gets upgraded metal wings that were originally feather, Psylocke, who has telekinetic abilities, and Magneto from those other movies. Magneto agrees to join Apocalypse because he's seeking revenge against Homo sapiens after his wife and daughter were killed by the authorities when they were tracking him down for being a mutant. Apocalypse and his horsemen attack the X-Mansion, kidnapping Xavier, wanting his telepathic abilities to control the world. Havoc tries to stop them, but accidentally blows up the whole school. Luckily, Quicksilver, who's quick and wears silver, arrives at the school just as this is all happening. He's here to see Charles, hoping he could help find his father, Magneto. Because running really fast is basically just magic, Quicksilver is able to save everyone. Except Havoc. But just as everyone has been saved, William Stryker, not to be confused with this older William Stryker from the past, captures all the main characters and takes them to his facility for experimentation. Jean, Scott, and Nightcrawler follow where they rescue the others and release Wolverine, who's just been turned into Weapon X. The X-Men confront Apocalypse in Cairo and attack the new Horsemen as Apocalypse is making Charles bald and transferring his consciousness into him. Magneto has altered Earth's magnetic field, causing destruction of all the main tourist attractions across the world, but later switches sides along with Storm after gaining a conscience. The X-Men defeat Apocalypse and free the world after Jean Grey unleashes her full ability, bringing out the power of the Phoenix Force. In the aftermath, Magneto and Jean rebuild the mansion with their powers. That was easy. Quicksilver decides not to tell Magneto that he's his son, but he does decide to join the X-Men. Meanwhile, at William Stryker's facility, some suits collect a blood sample of Weapon X's blood and put it in a briefcase for Essex Corp. 9 years after the events of Apocalypse, everyone looks about 3 years older. The new mission sees the X-Men travel to space, where each mutant gets their own little task to do to save stranded astronauts. But when it's Jean Grey's turn, a mysterious solar energy absorbs itself into her. Upon returning to Earth, Jean realizes that this energy has significantly amplified her powers, but struggles to control them. This leads to uncontrollable outbursts and uncovering suppressed memories of a car accident that killed her mother when she was a child. Charles had tampered with Jean's memories to protect her from learning the truth that it was her telekinetic powers manifesting that caused the crash, leading to her father disowning her. Feeling betrayed, Jean leaves the X-Mansion and returns to her hometown to see her father. The X-Men try to bring her home, but this leads to a confrontation that sees Quicksilver get injured and Mystique get injured much worse, accidentally killing her. Fearful of herself, Jean seeks out Magneto, who is now living on the island of Genosha, a mutant refuge. But when the military arrive to arrest Jean, she attacks them. This annoys Magneto, as he's done all this work to keep mutants safe and respected from Homo sapiens, only for her to undo that, so he banishes her. Meanwhile, not the Skrulls arrive on Earth, seeking the energy Jean absorbed. That energy was the same cosmic power that destroyed their home planet. The leader, known as Vuk, finds Jean and manipulates her so they can harness and control the power. Meanwhile, Hank McCoy blames Charles for Raven's death and passes this information on to Magneto. The two form an alliance with some of the other Genoshian mutants and plan to kill Jean, while the X-Men try to bring her home. Scott swears because he wants his girlfriend back, then the two groups frogger across the road to get to Jean. Unfortunately, all, including her, are eventually captured by the authorities and contained with mutant dampeners. The mutants are transported on a military train, but are attacked by Vuk and the other not Skrulls. With the soldiers overpowered, they drop the mutants' power suppressants for assistance. However, Jean is taken by Vuk and tries to drain the force out of her so they can conquer Earth as their new home. But Jean destroys Vuk and sacrifices herself by flying into space and unleashing the full extent of the force to become the Phoenix again, but different. In the aftermath, they change the name of the mutant school. Hank becomes the headmaster after Charles' retirement to go and play chess with Eric in Paris, while the Order of the Phoenix flies in the sky above. Okay, you know everything that happened in the prequel movies? Forget pretty much all of it. In the not too distant future, Jean is alive, Mystique is alive, and the years have really caught up to Charles and Magneto. In Mississippi, we meet Rogue, who is a terrible kisser because she's essentially a dementor. Scared by discovering she's a mutant, Rogue runs away to a pub in Canada where Wolverine is a huge jacked man making dollary-doos cage fighting. Rogue asks if she can hitch a ride with Wolverine, but he says no, but then he says yes pretty much immediately after. As they're driving, they're attacked by Sabretooth, who has really let his hair grow out. Luckily, the pair are saved by Cyclops and Storm of the X-Men and bring them to Charles Xavier's school for gifted youngsters. Meanwhile, Magneto believes that Homo sapiens will never accept mutants and could lead to another Holocaust, so he seeks to turn the world leaders into mutants to prevent that. Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants, who include Sabretooth, Mystique, and Toad, who has the powers of a toad, kidnap Rogue so they can use her soul-sucking powers to power the machine that would turn the world leaders into mutants. Magneto's plan is to have Rogue absorb his powers so she can activate the device at the cost of her life. Charles uses Cerebro to locate Rogue's location, where this is all about to go down, the Statue of Liberty, where the World Leader's summon is occurring. There, the Brotherhood battle the X-Men, which consists of Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, and Wolverine. The X-Men are able to defeat the Brotherhood, with Storm taking the most impressive victory that included a fun fact about lightning.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
As Rogue's hair and life is dying, Wolverine stops the machine and Magneto before transferring his healing factor to her so she can be saved. Magneto is imprisoned in a plastic cell and lets Charles know that the war between Homo sapiens and mutants is far from over, just like their game of chess. Nightcrawler is attacking the White House, almost assassinating the President of the United States before being shot and retreating, but he does leave a note that calls for mutant freedom. However, the assassination attempt does the complete opposite, leading to the President authorizing the mutant research specialist, William Stryker, to investigate these threats. Xavier learns of Nightcrawler's events and uses Cerebro to track him before sending Storm and Jean to retrieve him, while Charles and Cyclops go to question Magneto. Meanwhile, Wolverine is trying to remember who he is, so he searches Alkali Lake in Alberta, but finds nothing and returns to the X-Mansion. There, the mutants are attacked by Stryker, several being captured. During the invasion, Stryker makes it clear that he knows the secret of Wolverine's past, but he can't learn about it now, he has other mutants to save. So he, Rogue, Iceman, who can make your drink cold, and Pyro, who can make your drink hot, drive off to warn the other X-Men. Over at Magneto's cell, Stryker's assistant Yuriko captures Cyclops and Xavier, with Stryker planning on using Charles' telepathy to kill every mutant on the planet with a Cerebro they built. How would Charles agree to do this? Because Stryker's son, Jason, is also a mutant with mind-controlling powers that will force Xavier to do it. Jason's powers was why Nightcrawler attacked the President. Mystique helps break Magneto out of prison before meeting up with Storm, Jean, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Rogue, Iceman, and Pyro, agreeing to form an alliance as they have a common goal of stopping Stryker. The mutants trace Stryker to his facility at Alkali Lake. Wolverine learns about the events of X-Men Origins Wolverine before finding Yuriko, who has really long adamantium fingernails. The X-Men, with Mystique and Magneto, help rescue Cyclops and the young mutants. However, Mystique and Magneto then reverse the plan of killing all mutants to kill all Homo sapiens, before escaping on Stryker's helicopter with Pyro, who wants to join their cause. But the X-Men are able to stop the extinction event and free Xavier. Although they're not out of danger yet, the damn walls of Alkali Lake burst, rushing water towards them. It drowns Stryker, but Jean is able to hold it back so the mutants can escape. Unfortunately, Jean is unable to survive, devastating Cyclops, who was dating Jean, shattering Wolverine, who had a crush on Jean, and overwhelming Jean, who was Jean. But is Jean really dead? Because there's a phoenix in the water. The X-Men visit the President to show the evidence that Stryker was behind the attacks, who promises to reconsider his stance on mutants. What if 20 years ago, Charles and Eric invited Jean Grey to join Xavier's school for gifted youngsters? Well, that would contradict a lot of what happens in the prequels. In the present day, a mutant known as Leech has the power to nullify other mutant abilities. Warren Worthington II uses him to develop a cure for mutation. Storm, on the other hand, says that mutation is not a disease and doesn't need curing, but Rogue thinks it is a disease and needs curing, so she takes it, unlike Warren Worthington III, who only flies away with his mutant wings. Magneto is outraged by this cure and recruits more mutants to his cause, but in the process loses Mystique to the serum. She is however replaced with Multiple Man, and the Juggernaut. Cyclops is still mourning the loss of Jean and visits Alkali Lake, shocked to find that she's still alive thanks to the Order of the Phoenix. But the Phoenix Force is powerful and takes over her mind, accidentally killing Cyclops. Storm and Wolverine find Jean and bring her back to the mansion. There, in a fit of rage and confusion, leaves for a family home. Magneto learns about Jean's survival and newly gained power and seeks to convince her to join his cause to guarantee success of achieving his goals. The the X-Men intercept the Brotherhood at Jean's family home, leading to a battle between the two teams. However, while Charles is trying to save Jean from the Phoenix, it takes hold of her, leading to Xavier's death. Lost and confused, Jean leaves with Magneto. Now nothing can stop the Brotherhood. But then the X-Men stop the Brotherhood. The final battle takes place at Worthington Labs on Alcatraz Island, with Magneto's intention on killing Leech. Wolverine, Storm, Beast, Iceman, Kitty Pryde, who can walk through walls, Colossus, who can break walls, hold off against the Brotherhood. They save Leech, inject Magneto with the cure, and all that is left to do is stop Jean from unleashing the full force of the Phoenix. Wolverine confronts her as she tries to tear him apart. Luckily he has healing factor, so only his clothes are torn apart. Well, except for his pants. Must be an incredible material. Jean has lost all control. The need of the many outweigh the need of literally one person. Wolverine has no choice but to kill the woman he loves. The battle is won, but the X-Men are mourning like half the cast. As for Magneto, he's playing chess against no one, but we do learn the serum doesn't actually work. Also, Charles transferred his consciousness into the body of a comatose patient. Living up to the tradition of literally every previous X-Men movie, minus X2, we open in the past, this time 1945. Wolverine is imprisoned in a Japanese prisoner of war camp near Nagasaki, just as the culmination of Oppenheimer is being dropped. Wolverine barbecues himself, saving a Japanese officer named Ichiro Yashida, but he's okay because of his healing factor. Now in the present day, Logan is trying to copy his brother's look while living in Canada. He's suffering from the trauma of Jean Grey, who he killed one of the times she died. One day, a mutant named Yukio convinces Logan to accompany her to Tokyo so her boss Yashida can thank him for saving his life all those years ago. Yukio's mutant abilities can see people's deaths, including Logan's, where he's on his back, there's blood everywhere, holding his own heart in his hand. In Tokyo, Yashida is dying, so using his science and technology, offers to transfer Logan's healing abilities into himself, allowing Logan to live a mortal life and finally find peace. Logan declines, seeing his healing factor as a curse and doesn't want anyone else to have to suffer. So no healing factor leads to Yashida's death. At his funeral, Yashida's granddaughter, Mariko, is attacked by a group called the Yakuza because she's the sole heir of the Yashida fortune and they want to control the empire. Logan acts as Mariko's bodyguard, but when shot, realizes his healing factor isn't working properly. The two jump on a train. Well, one jumps on a train, the other one sits inside, before seeking refuge in a love hotel, then a remote home belonging to Mariko's family. This leads to the pair growing closer, and not just in a physical sense. But then they grow further away in a physical sense because Mariko has been found and kidnapped. Yukio picks up Logan in a car, again back to the metaphorical sense, and drives back to Tokyo. Logan discovers that his healing factor is malfunctioning due to a device implanted into his body by the mutant Viper, who has toxic powers like a cobra. He's able to remove the device, regaining his healing ability before tracking Mariko down in a village. Unfortunately for Logan, he's outnumbered, captured and placed in a machine where the plan is to extract his healing factor and inject it into the Silver Samurai, who has a very Marvel name, like Silver Surfer, Silver Sable, and of course, J. Jonah, Jimmy, Jason, Jackson, Jordan, Jasmine, Jordan, Joseph, and Jessica Jameson, a junior. But under the Silver Samurai suit is Yashida, who faked his own death. He severs Logan's adamantium claws and starts extracting his healing factor. Mariko helps Logan, who is now able to break free of Yashida's grasp and kill him with his bone claws. In a severely weakened state, Logan has a final hallucination about Jean, in which he finally accepts her fate and is able to let her go. In the aftermath, Mariko takes control of her grandfather's company, promising to lead it in a new positive direction, while Logan departs Japan with Yukio as his bodyguard. 2 years later, Logan is approached at an airport by Magneto and resurrected Charles Xavier, warning him of an upcoming threat to mutant kind. Wade Wilson has a very Marvel name, like Peter Parker, Kamala Khan, and of course, J. Jonah, Jimmy, Jason, Jackson, Jordan, Jasmine, Julian, Josephine, Jessica Jameson, a junior. This version of Wade Wilson, also known as Deadpool, is a merc with a mouth and the ability to break the fourth wall. Wade is a former Special Forces op, now working as a contract killer. He meets an escort named Vanessa, where the two start dating and quickly fall in love, before the happiness turns into the opposite of happiness when Wade finds out he has all the cancer. With no chance of survival, Wade is approached by a mysterious person who progresses the plot, offering an experimental treatment that may cure his cancer. Wade reluctantly accepts, but decides not to tell Vanessa, trying to spare her from seeing him suffer. At a secret dodgy looking lab run by someone who claims to have the same name as a dish soap, it's revealed that their treatment process is designed to activate suppressant mutant genes. But to bring them out, the patient needs to be subjected to extreme stress and torture. I'm surprised they didn't just make him watch one of his other superhero movies, like Blade Trinity, Green Lantern, or X-Men Origins Wolverine. Am I right? Joke complete. After a long and painful process, Wade learns that Ajax's name is actually Francis. Plus, Wade's mutation triggers, giving him healing abilities, which is convenient because claws or wings wouldn't exactly help with his cancer treatment. However, the mutation does disfigure his 2010 sexiest man alive face and skin. Haunted by his appearance, Wade tries to kill Francis, who has a mutation that prevents him from feeling pain. The fight leads to the facility exploding and Francis escaping. Horrified by his appearance that looks like
an avocado. Had sex with an older, more disgusting avocado.
Yeah. Wade decides not to return to Vanessa, instead hiding his identity in a skin-tight red suit so his enemies can't see him bleed, and adopting the alias of Captain Deadpool, then just Deadpool, to track Francis and demand a cure. Deadpool utilizes the R rating to make sure the deaths of Francis's payrolls are as gruesomely, bloody, and sweary as possible, before finally tracking down Francis on a highway. But before Deadpool can make another move, he's interrupted by the only two X-Men the studio could afford, Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Colossus, who's gotten a lot more Russian since the last time we saw him. Colossus tries to prevent more killing from Deadpool, but this distraction allows Francis to escape. Francis then kidnaps Vanessa, luring Deadpool to him so he can kill Wade. Deadpool gears up all the guns, hires his taxi buddy Dupinder, then seeks the assistance of Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead for the mission at a decommissioned helicarrier. Unfortunately, Deadpool left his weapons in the taxi, so he's going to have to fight in the way the rest of the world does. Without guns. Colossus and Negasonic take care of the strong mutant, Angel Dust, while Deadpool goes to save Vanessa. Paul ultimately defeats Francis before learning that he doesn't have a cure for his skin condition. With no reason to keep Francis alive, Deadpool pulls out the only gun he has on him and puts it to Francis's head. But before he can fire, Colossus tries to convince him not to shoot. Oh, too late, he killed him. Wade and Vanessa reunite before removing his mask and pretending to be the 2008 sexiest man alive. Vanessa isn't fooled and removes the image to see his real face. It's a face that doesn't bother her, so the two kiss, reforming their love. 2 years after Wade Wilson defeated Francis, Deadpool is on a world tour, taking out baddies from all around the globe. Unfortunately, this means Deadpool is late home to his anniversary, which Vanessa isn't very happy about, but even less happy about being killed by one of the targets Deadpool forgot to kill. Wade blames himself, so lies on top of some oil drums and flicks a cigarette into one, blowing himself up. However, because of his healing factor, he grows back and is taken to the X-Mansion with Colossus, which has increased the number of mutants there since the last time he was here. I'm going to assume these 90s X-Men are on some kind of time travel adventure. After being in a depressed state for several weeks, Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who's dating Yukio, convinces Deadpool to join the X-Men as a trainee. The first mission is stopping a young mutant named Russell from burning down his orphanage owned by the Essex Corporation. Deadpool sees that the reason Russell is so fiery is because of his mutation, but also because he's being abused by the orphanage staff. With this information, Deadpool kills one of the staff members, which leads to him and Russell getting arrested and sent to a special prison for mutants. Meanwhile, decades in the future, a soldier named Cable seeks revenge on Russell, who killed his wife and child. So he travels back to the present and attacks Russell at the prison, trying to kill him before he becomes a killer. Wade has a vision of Vanessa, who encourages him to save the kid so he can be better than he used to be. Deadpool is able to defeat Cable, escaping the prison, but Russell is left behind. Not wanting to give up on the kid, Deadpool puts together a team of remarkable people he calls X-Force. On the team is Bedlam, who can distort an electric field. Vanisher is a mutant whose identity is concealed. There's an alien who's better than you at everything, goes by Shatterstar. Domino has the power of luck, which you might think sounds bizarre. Zeitgeist can spit acidic vomit that will melt you. And Peter has no powers, but he joins the team too. The plan to intercept the prison convoy, transferring Russell and the other inmates, goes horribly wrong. The wind conditions are not optimal to stop the convoy from the sky, leading to most of them dying. Luckily, Domino is lucky, so she survives, and luckily, Deadpool's name is in the title of the movie, which is only halfway through, so he too gets to live. On board the transport, Russell befriends the Juggernaut, not to be confused with this Juggernaut, who's this juggernaut of a being and helps them escape as Cable is once again trying to kill him. Cable then meets up with Deadpool where he explains his motives before agreeing to allow Wade a chance to set Russell on the right path. Together with Domino, Colossus, Negasonic, and Yukio, they confront Russell and the Juggernaut at the orphanage. Colossus has a CGI fight with the Juggernaut, while Deadpool tries to turn Russell back to the light side. Unfortunately, this fails, so Cable shoots the kid, only for Wade to sacrifice himself for the sake of Russell. Despite Wade's healing factor, this kills him as he put on a power dampener collar to show how much Russell really means to him. Touched by the gesture and knowing that this reversed the death of his family, Cable uses his last time travel charge to put a ski token in Deadpool's breast pocket, armoring him from the bullet. The mission is a success. Russell is on a better path, despite the orphanage's headmaster still being alive. Oh no, Topinta got him. Welcome to the X-Force. Deadpool steals Cable's time travel device, tampers with it, travels back to save Vanessa and Peter, kill the X-Men Origins Wolverine version of Deadpool, and stop Ryan Reynolds from starring in the Green Lantern movie. By killing him. Dani Moonstar is the only survivor of a traumatic event that destroyed her entire reservations, which included the death of her father. Dani wakes up in a hospital and learns that she's a new mutant. Dr. Cecilia Reyes, the one and only doctor at the facility, is helping other mutants control their powers before they can move on to become X-Men, but in the meantime are being constrained behind a force field for their own and others' safety. Other mutants at the hospital include Rain Sinclair, who can transform into a wolf whenever she needs. Sam Guthrie can propel himself into the air at high speeds. Elena Rasputin is Colossus' sister with magic abilities, while Roberta DaCosta is resistant to heat and can manipulate solar energy. The new mutants start experiencing terrifying visions of past traumas as if they're really happening. It turns out this is Dani's mutation, the ability to manifest people's fears. This leads to Dr. Ray's superiors ordering her to kill Dani as her powers are too dangerous. It's here where we learn that the hospital is not a bridging home to the X-Mansion, instead run by the Essex Corporation, who plan on using the mutants as weapons. Dani's fears manifest into a giant demon bear, who is actually the one responsible for the destruction of her reservation. Dr. Reyes tries to kill Dani to stop the bear, but the bear kills Dr. Reyes first. The new mutants use their powers to attack the bear. Elena even goes into another dimension to get a dragon. It's not that big though, but it helps a bit. Dani is able to confront her fear, which allows her to control the bear, dispersing it. With Dr. Reyes and her mutant abilities no longer shielding the facility, the mutants are now free to do what they want any old time. In the dystopian future of 2023, mutant hunting robots known as Sentinels are hunting mutants. Things have gotten a bit out of hand with the technology though, killing most mutants and any Homo sapiens who have the genetic potential of bringing in mutant offspring. A handful of mutants including Kitty Pryde, Iceman, Bishop, Warpath, Blink, and a less Russian Colossus are found by Charles Xavier, Magneto, Storm, and Wolverine, who has his adamantium claws back somehow. The plan is for Kitty to use her walking through walls powers to travel Wolverine's consciousness back in time to stop the Sentinel program and prevent this future. Wolverine wakes up in 1973 with Bone Claws, who goes to the shutdown X-Mansion, seeking out a younger Charles and Hank. Xavier has lost his way, and his powers, thanks to a serum developed by Hank that allows him to walk. After first being told to go away please and thank you, Wolverine is able to convince Charles and Hank to help him prevent Mystique from assassinating the creator of the Sentinels, Dr. Bolivar Trask, not to be confused with this older version of Bolivar Trask from the past, as this led to world leaders realizing mutants were indeed a threat and the project being greenlit. In order to stop Mystique, they need Magneto, who they believe will help convince Raven to abandon her plans. But Magneto is in a high security prison for allegedly assassinating President Kennedy. However, it turns out he was trying to save the president because he was a mutant. Anyway, they're going to need another mutant to help break Magneto out. This is where Quicksilver comes in. The prison break goes pretty well thanks to having a mutant who is basically invincible, so they don't bring him on the rest of the quest, or that would make completing the mission way too easy. At the Paris Peace Accords in Paris, the mutants stop Mystique from killing Trask, but now Magneto wants to kill Mystique, thinking this will help prevent the bad future. Unfortunately, this just does the opposite. Trask is able to use some of Mystique's blood that fell out where Magneto shot and tried to kill her to further his development of the Sentinels. Because of the mutant aggression scene, the US government moves forward with the Sentinel program, planning on making a demonstration in DC. Washington, not the comic rival. All is seemed lost until Bold Charles telepathically communicates with Hairy Charles, giving himself the strength to reclaim his powers, accept who he is, and become a leader. With his powers back, Charles uses Cerebro to track Mystique down, who's still determined to kill Trask. Charles, Hank, and Wolverine try to stop Mystique at the Sentinel unveiling, but she's not the only one they need to be worried about. Magneto has infused the Sentinels with metal and now has control, ordering them to attack the Homo sapiens. Wolverine tries to stop him, but is impaled with a metal not as strong as adamantium, but strong enough for Magneto to flick him away. Mystique stops Magneto, but she's still determined to kill Trask. Thankfully, Charles convinces her to change her mind for the sake of humankind. This decision is enough to prevent the Sentinel program from going through and the dystopian future from occurring, fixing the timeline and altering pretty much everything that happened after 1973, including preventing all 3 of Jean Grey's deaths. But Wolverine did have at least one adamantium injection from William Stryker. 6 years after the X-Men prevented the mutants from going extinct, the mutants are now nearly extinct. Wolverine is working as a chauffeur, his healing factor is failing, and he's looking after Charles Xavier, who has a brain disease that causes dangerous seizures, leading to temporarily paralyzing anyone nearby. The pair live with another mutant, Caliban, in an abandoned smelting plant across the border in Mexico. The United States of America border, not the Pacific Ocean border. One day, Logan is approached by a nurse named Gabriella, who begs him to take a young girl named Laura to a place called Eden in the northeast of Dakotas. Logan initially refuses until Gabriella gives him lots of dollary dues, something he plans on using to buy a boat where he and Charles can live on safely away from civilization. However, when Logan goes to pick Laura up, Gabriella has been killed by Donald Pierce, the chief of security at Transigen, a science company that's been collecting mutant DNA to create more and use them as weapons. One of those new mutants is Laura, who was created from Logan's DNA, but her and many of the other creations had escaped thanks to Gabriella, who are now seeking asylum at Eden. Pierce tracks Logan and Laura to his hideout just as he and Xavier are trying to leave. The 3 narrowly escape Pierce and his Reavers, but Caliban is captured and forced to use his mutant abilities of tracking mutants to track down the mutants. Logan, Charles, and Laura embark on a road trip to Eden. They make a few stops before spending the night at the home of a family of farmers who welcome them in after helping them round up their horses. However, the mutants are tracked down and are attacked by another of Transigen's creations and another formed by Logan's DNA. This one, known as X-24, is basically a slightly less hairy version of Logan, plus more youthful. X-24 kills the farmers and Charles before capturing Laura. Logan fights his clone but is severely wounded, not able to heal like he used to. Caliban sacrifices himself with some poorly placed grenades, killing some of the Reavers, allowing Logan and Laura to escape. The two complete their journey to Eden and meet up with the other mutants who escaped Transigen. Their plan is to cross the border into Canada, but Logan's part of the mission is done. He plans on getting a full-strength beer at the nearest pub. As the young mutants near the Canadian border, they're attacked by the Reavers. Luckily, Logan had a change of heart, and using a serum that temporarily boosts his healing factor, helps the children escape. Transigen's whole operation is nearly dead. All that's left is X-24. But Wolverine doesn't have the strength to fight his clone and is impaled into a tree. Laura uses an adamantium bullet to erase X-24's memories, the same as what happened to Logan in his origin. The only difference, not only is X-24's memories erased, but so is his life. Logan is on his back. There's blood everywhere as he holds his own heart in his hand. But it's a metaphor. That heart is Laura, who he's come to love as his daughter, as she has come to love as her father. Logan is buried under a cross, which Laura turns on its side to look like an X, presumably paying homage to Wolverine's love of xylophones. Oh wait, maybe it's for X? And now you're all caught up and ready to see Deadpool and Wolverine. You're welcome! Don't forget to absolutely obliterate that like, subscribe, and share button. I'm just kidding. Only do it with enough force that it registers. I don't want any of you fourth wall breaking whatever device you're watching this on. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what your favourite film is in the X-Men franchise.